Hey everybody, I'm Jacob Castro and welcome to another live show here on Jacob's Aquarium. I am broadcasting from outside on my balcony right next to the pond. Isn't it awesome? I'm so happy I finally got this thing built. I have so much more space for all the plants and it's a dream come true. It really is. When I envisioned it, I really didn't think it would look this good once I finally built it, because for some reason whenever I do a project like this, whatever I have in my mind, it never looks exactly like what I envisioned. It's always some combobulated mess, but amazingly, this came out really well, and it's been a really big help. So yeah, we're broadcasting live outside from the pond. Hi everybody in the chat room. Hope you guys are doing good. I got my phone here on a tripod to monitor all the comments and see what you guys are saying, answer your questions and stuff. So welcome everybody. Thank you for coming back for another live show. I apologize that I didn't do a live show last weekend. I was actually on vacation, so I couldn't. I was at the beach, so there was really no internet connection, so I really couldn't do a live show. But yeah, that's why I didn't do one last week. And but vacation was a lot of fun. Oh my God, at the beach for 3 days. It's so relaxing. I mean, and it's a military base beach, or kind of resort, I guess you can call it. So there's not a lot of people there, so the beach was really um, empty. So kind of had the whole beach to ourselves. It was a blast. It really was. And I had a lot of fun. It was really nice to just get away, because lots of it was good to get away from all the stress of the real world for 3 days. And then when we left, it was sad. Going back to the real world, not on vacation anymore. And it goes by so fast. It was like, we got there and I mean, it seemed like a day went by and we were already leaving. I mean, I guess time really just does fly when you're having fun. So yeah, that's what I'll talk about to open the show. Now let's get to your questions. So somebody's asking, what do you dose in the pond and in your tanks? Well, I don't have the planet tanks set up anymore. I tore those down because I'm instead using the pond. But I will, however, be setting up my 80 gallon as an official, planet display tank once I get settled and stuff with the pond. The pond was pretty costly, so kind of set me back a few. So I don't really have some extra cash to set up another tank right now. But when I do, it's going to be awesome. An 80 gallon planet tank. That'll be like the biggest planet tank I've ever done. So can't wait to do that. But in the pond, basically, I'm injecting CO2. I do dose nutrients, iron, potassium, nitrogen, phosphorus, all that good stuff. The CCAM line of nutrients, for those of you guys wondering which brand. And I use CCAM Equilibrium as well because I use reverse osmosis water in the pond. I don't use regular tap water because our tap water really isn't that bad as far as quality, but I still prefer to use the RO water just because, it's low in those nitrates and phosphates, or uh, zero with those, and, it helps, it really does help prevent algae growth. Of course, algae can still grow in RO water, but, combined with the low nitrates and phosphates, or zero nitrates and phosphates, and the ultra pure water, it definitely does help. So as long as I do the other right things, to control algae, along with using the RO water, it helps keep the pond pretty much algae free. I mean, algae pretty much exists in all, ponds, aquariums and stuff. There's clear algae that's really not a nuisance algae, it's just stuff that you clean. So algae's in here regardless, but it's not the nuisance algae like the blackbeard algae, the hair algae, the brown algae, green spot algae. Blue-green algae, all those nuisance algae is not aren't going to be found in here, So, which that's the only algae we're concerned about. So, as long as that's not in there, we're good to go. So, how much buffer does that take? If you're talking about sea chem equilibrium, I don't really buffer any of the water. I fill up the pond with RO water whenever I do a water change and add the powder, the sea chem equilibrium, and just let it dissolve. I really don't mix it or buffer it or anything. So, and that seemed to work for me for a long time. So, because I was using RO water in my regular aquariums too. So. What do you, can't wait to see the 80. Yep, I can't wait either. It's gonna be an awesome tank. So, na, 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 na. Still waiting for our regulars to come in the chat room. We have a couple regulars that come in. I think Evelyn and some other guy. They should be here soon though. It's a nice day today. It's hot, but it's kind of humid, but you know what? It's nice. It's really, I mean, it's hot and humid, but it's not like 90, 100 degrees. It's like I think it's maybe like 85. So, perfect. All I need is a glass of Jack and a big cigar and I'll feel like I'm in tropical resort weather. Aqua Paradise, hi from the UK. Oh my god. Hello, how are you? It's a horrible British accent. I apologize for that. And since I'm outside, you guys will hear traffic noise, so I apologize for that. Um, what about Connor? Connor? What are you talking about? Are you talking about my bird? He's inside. I can't bring him out here. Oh my god, if I try to do the live show with that bird, first of all, the bird never stops moving. He's just crawling all over, playing and doing all this crap. I would not be able to do this live show. He'd try to bite the microphone cables and it'd be too much issues. Eric Rogers, have you had any trouble with the wind with that umbrella? Nope. Nope. The umbrella is actually it's tied to my balcony itself. The center pole that it's on is tied to the structure that I built to hold all the lights for the pond. And I mean, it's gotten pretty windy. The wind has kind of picked up. I mean, I wouldn't say like, like 30, 40 miles an hour winds, but like it's picked up and it's not, it really hasn't moved or gotten ruined or anything. Um, I think it would take a pretty big storm to really mess with it. I mean, it would have to be at least, you know, 25, 30 mile an hour winds for this to really start falling apart. Um, but no, I mean, it's been fine so far. It has actually rained also. It did rain, I think actually the first week that I set the pond up, and it worked just like it should. It wasn't really heavy rain, so I probably can't say it'll work 100% because I don't know that for sure. But it still rained nonetheless, and everything was kept dry and everything was still good. So I think it'll work. You know, I was thinking about getting like a pop-up canopy, something else like that that'll cover everything better. But they're like $150, and I don't know if they'll fit here on my balcony because some of them are too big. So I don't know. I think we'll just stick with the umbrella for now. I think that'll just have to work for now. And if it doesn't, I'll have to cover all the electrical stuff with plastic maybe. So that's what we used to actually do at the fish store that I worked at. We would have a bunch of electrical stuff around the tanks, and to prevent them from shorting out or getting ruined with water, we would put plastic bags over them because that's how cheap my boss was. It's not like, oh, let's try to make it safe. It's electricity, it's around water. We could possibly get shocked to death and die. No, just put a plastic bag over it. It'll be fine. That's what we did. And several times things started to smoke sometimes because water would get through, well, wouldn't go through the bag, but get into, like, where the power was, regardless. And even though the bag was over it, and things would get ruined, and you'd smell smoke, and sometimes you hear a popping noise, like electrical stuff going out. So it was pretty scary. So I'm not going to do that here. I don't think that would be the best thing. Aqua Paradise, what do you use to get RO unit to link to your tap? Well, the reverse osmosis unit has a bunch of, well, it comes with one fitting that fits with a standard sink threading. Um, hell? Somebody's screaming. Anyways, lots of crazies over here. Sorry. The RO unit hooks up to the tap with a fitting. It's a fitting that has, it fits a standard thread for most sinks, I guess you could say, and it has a little bib or nipple, whatever what I call it, whatever they call that thing, that the tubing goes into, and then you just hook the tubing up to the RO unit itself. And it's a special kind of tubing. It's like really, really tiny tubing. I don't think I have any nearby to show you, but I actually made a video about it. If you look on my channel and find, I think if you just go to my channel and go to where my videos are and go to the search bar and just type in RO unit or RO, I think the video should come up, and I explain all that in the video. So, are you going to have a show tank again? Absolutely. Yep. I did tear down the 50 gallon and the 80 gallon, but I'm setting up the 80 gallon as my official planted show tank, pretty soon here. I'm kind of trying to save some money because, to be honest, I'm going on vacation again to Las Vegas, and I want to have some money to gamble and have some fun. So I'm trying to save some money for that. And also, pretty soon here, I'm going to be selling Tropica stuff again because they're going to get things going. I've been waiting a while for that opportunity. So I'm trying to save some money so I can build up my Tropica stock once I'm allowed to get some of that stuff. So not really a lot of free cash right now to set up my 80 gallon. Um, I was thinking about doing like a Kickstarter project and stuff like that, and then as rewards, giving people plants for helping out with that build. But I I thought about it, and I've tried Kickstarter, I've tried Patreon. Nobody wants to give any money to anything, so I figured I would just do it with my own money. But relying on that, I can't do that right now, so that's the only problem. So it seems like people only like to fund ridiculous things on Kickstarter, or like super like advanced techie stuff, like Pebble watches and drones and everything. Um, I remember one time I saw, what was it? It was a guy that started a Kickstarter project for, like, was it macaroni and cheese or something? Totally ridiculous. Sometimes you'll see the most ridiculous things on Kickstarter, fully funded. So, when is your next live fish store tour? Well, they're not live, but I'm not sure when my next fish store tour would be. I was supposed to do one at Mark's Tropical Fish in Studio City, but he was busy when I called to confirm the film date, and he said that we had to reschedule. So my schedule is pretty packed. so I don't really have time to go do a video shoot like that, because I got a lot of things going on here, a lot of things I'm doing and managing, and no time to drive, 80 miles away to do a video. um, so I'm not sure when I'll reschedule that video, but I'll just say, guys, it's not easy doing those videos. There's, when I contact these businesses to ask them if we can do the video, first of all, most of them say no because they think I'm some type of like weirdo scammer. Like they don't understand YouTube, in other words, you know. Um, and also, some of them are really costly. I mean, that's why I try to do the Patreon thing, to help out with those videos, because some of them cost us a good, like $200-300 sometimes to do the videos. Like, for example, the one we did last month. I think it was last month. The one we did in what was it? What city was that? It wasn't Studio City. It was close to Studio City. Um, I forgot. It was in LA though, and LA is about 70, 80 miles from here, from where I live. So like round trip, it was 7 or 80 miles, so we'll call it 160 miles round trip. It cost a fair bit amount of money in gas, and then we had to factor in, food while we were there, having lunch and stuff, and then we have to rent camera gear sometimes because, like microphones and stuff, because I really don't have the money to spend right now on a $800 microphone. So it's nice just being able to rent it instead for, $50 or whatever it costs, So um, some of the videos do cost a pretty fair amount of money to do. So on top of them being far away, and the overall cost and how business owners react, when I ask them to do them, or I should say most of them turning me down, those videos come along very rarely. So I probably won't be doing those as often. It worked out good though, this past couple months where I lined up like three of them in one shot. Well, of course, the third one I didn't do, like I just said, but I lined up, those videos, and it was like boom, boom, boom. So like I wish I could do those videos on a regular basis like that, but unfortunately, it's not that easy. And it's kind of disappointing too, because I understand that most of the businesses, like the owners, they don't understand YouTube. They don't know, like, as much as I explain it, they still don't. They're not convinced that it's a good, thing to do, a video for their store. Um, I forgot what I was gonna say. I lost it. What the hell was I getting at? Um, oh well, okay. I, I think I was just saying, like, they don't realize, the businesses, that is, they don't realize that, like, how beneficial it is to their store. A lot of the places that we've gone to and done videos at, I mean, within weeks I get comments and messages from people saying, oh, I went to the store, they have a great selection of fish, it was so much fun, I told the owner about your video, that I came in because your video. And we get calls and emails from the owners as well, telling us that they've seen an increase in customers too. So I mean, it's sad because it's really beneficial to these businesses, exposing themselves on YouTube. um, but for some reason they most of them turn me down. I mean, from what I can only think of, is because they just don't understand it. um, so hopefully, some other businesses will come along, and they'll say yes to a video. But yeah, those videos come along very rarely, just for that reason. So will I ever set up a saltwater reef tank? Probably not. Probably not, just because y- the saltwater hobby is pretty expensive. It's not the cheapest hobby to get into. Um, I originally, and I should also say it's a little bit more demanding. I decided to get into planted tanks for that reason, way back when, just because it seemed a lot easier than doing a saltwater tank. So even now today, I really don't want to get into salt water because it is just that more demanding. I mean, to me, a planted tank, system, whatever you call it, seems demanding. So, I mean, I couldn't imagine a saltwater tank where, the specific gravity has to be maintained. You have to worry about, water quality very strictly because of how sensitive corals and saltwater fish are to different water parameters and stuff. It's just there's a lot more involved, and on top of that, I'm running a business, with the plants and stuff, so that keeps me busy most of the time. So I don't really think I'd even be able to fit in a saltwater tank, maintaining it and keeping it healthy while at the same time doing all this. I'd be like working nonstop. I'd be a full-on aquatic boy, It'd just be too much. Um, so on top of the extraordinary costs, to set up a really nice saltwater system and the demanding maintenance, I don't think I'd want to do that now. And on top of that, it's like I really don't, I kind of really don't like saltwater tanks. I'm more really of a plant guy. I mean, I know some saltwater tanks are beautiful, and you can do so many different types of aquascapes with them and all the different fish that you can buy and stuff. But to me, it's like the number one thing I don't like about saltwater tanks is that most of the stuff you buy, well, okay, I shouldn't say most because I don't know for sure, but I know a lot of the fish that you buy aren't tank raised. They're taken from the ocean. That's one thing I don't agree with. With the plant tank hobby, a lot of the plants you know, um, that you can buy online, they've been propagated and grown in nurseries. They haven't been taken from the wild, which would ruin habitats for animals and, you know, um, stuff like that. Um, and most of the fish that are in the freshwater hobby are not taken from the wild. They're all bred at farms in Asia, in Florida. Oh my God, in Florida, there's so many fish farms. Um, so my whole thing has been that, with the freshwater hobby, it's just like it's less taxing on nature, because most of the stuff in the freshwater hobby is not taken from the wild, but with saltwater, it's a whole different story. Um, so I'm not saying, don't get into saltwater because of that. I mean, do what you wish. But for me, I just don't like that because I don't feel right about that, taking things from the ocean. I am glad, though, that most of the coral that you can buy nowadays, I think most, I hope most, it's all propagated coral that's been grown that's been fragged, and grown at nurseries as well, just like plants. So that's one thing I'm happy about because that's that's less things being taken from the wild. And with the saltwater hobby, it's just the fish is one thing that needs to be worked on. I mean, more saltwater fish need to be bred in tanks. However, it's some saltwater fish simply just won't do it. They won't breed in a tank environment. Um, so it'll definitely be really difficult to do that. I think so far, most of the saltwater fish that you can buy that are tank raised are like some clownfish, seahorses, um, flame angelfish, fish like that. I think are tank raised, but for the most part, a lot of the saltwater fish they're taken from the wild. So that's pretty much one thing, or I should say the biggest thing that's kept me away from saltwater, along with the maintenance and the costs and stuff. I just don't feel right taking stuff from the wild. So I like growing my own stuff, being able to propagate my own stuff, and knowing that I'm not disturbing anything. So Peru takes a lot of fishes out of the wild and are being sold here in the U.S. Yeah, absolutely. There are still some companies, some people, some countries where they do take fish out of the wild. Like for example, discus fish. People do, for some reason, I don't know what is the big difference or what's the thing with it, but some people like to buy wild caught discus, and it's so stupid because there are so many different species of tank raised discus that are so much more beautiful, so much more colorful than the wild caught discus, and it's like why wouldn't you, spending that kind of money, because discus fish are not cheap. Why wouldn't you just go for the more colorful, better looking fish than buying wild caught discus that are less colorful and taken from the wild, Um, so, I mean, absolutely, there are still some in the freshwater hobby, some things that are being taken out of the wild. But I mean, for the most part, like 98% of what's involved in the freshwater hobby is not taken from the wild. So, um, but yeah, I mean, that should be not allowed, period. I mean, wild caught discus or wild discus should stay in the wild. There's no reason to take them out of the wild and put them in an aquarium when there are so many retailers, so many farms that breed discus in tanks and ponds and you know that kind of stuff. So um then I could sell coral. Well, when I worked at that fish store and I had the website going for the fish store, we did actually try to sell coral then as well. Nobody bought anything. I think it's much harder to sell coral online, given there's so many other retailers that sell coral, at all different prices. So um, that was a really hard market to break into. You know, Aquatic plants are a lot easier to sell and to propagate and stuff. So it it's a better business to get into for sure. You have You have to make a planet tank with discus. That would be awesome. I mean, I did have a discus tank before and I loved it. The fish are so majestic, so graceful, so colorful. They're beautiful fish, they are expensive though, so that's definitely going to be one of the contributing factors to if I do discus or not. Some discus fish are like 50 bucks a piece. And then you have to worry about them dying in your tank if something goes wrong, and then you lose like $400 worth of fish. And then yeah, on top of that, you have to buy them in. You have to buy pretty much like three or four at one time, because if you only buy one or two, they're gonna fight. They're gonna become territorial, and it's not really gonna work out that good. So if you buy a good school of them in the beginning, you'll have a chance of having a more successful tank. Um, so yeah, that'll be really expensive. So uh, the king of DIY was the first to breed a certain species in captivity. That's good for him. Let's try not to mention him, okay? Because I don't really have a good friendship with him. He kind of screwed me over, so to speak. A lot of people think he's a really nice guy, but if they saw what saw the email, the um, very heavy worded email, I guess you could say, that he sent me, they would think otherwise. So let's try not to give him any publicity, in my chat room. I'd appreciate that. So let's leave him out of the equation, shall we? What plants would you recommend in a planted 40-gallon? I don't have CO2. Is that a problem? I have T5 lighting. You can definitely have plants in a tank without CO2. That's definitely not an issue. Um, you mainly have to rely on liquid nutrients or having good substrate to give the plants the proper amount of nutrients that they need to grow. However, some plants do require CO2, period, So there are some plants you just won't be able to grow. But plants that can grow in a nutrient-only tank, like, good substrate, liquid nutrients, um, and I would say decent lighting, not really high light, but just decent lighting, would be plants like Sagittaria, Amazon Swords, Jungle Val. Um, let me just look at my. Oh, Hygrophila wisteria is a good plant. That plant grows like a weed. You can grow that in any any tank. Liguidia is another great species that grows in a nutrient-only environment. And surprisingly, a lot of the moss plants as well, like Java moss, willow moss, weeping moss, flame moss, Christmas moss, a lot of the moss plants grow really great in nutrient-only environments. So those would be the plants that you'd want to stick with. And I believe we're out of stock on the website on most of those plants that I mentioned. Uh, but actually, you know what? No, we do have a lot of Liguidia available, so you might want to look into that if you wanted to buy some. But yeah, plants like that would work great in a nutrient-only environment. Of course, you want to stay away from like dwarf baby tears or you know, demanding plants like that, dwarf hairgrass. Those plants won't grow in a nutrient-only environment. Those plants need CO2, and they really need that extra kick that the CO2 gives them. So, but yeah, you can definitely do a tank with nutrients only for sure. So here in Portugal, one discus is around 25 bucks. Yeah, that's not bad. That is not bad at all. Oh, sorry, I didn't know that you didn't get along. No, yeah, it's no problem. Most people don't. That's why I said most people don't know. But yeah, that's fine. It's okay. Dwarf Sagittaria, yeah, you can do Dwarf Sagittaria. Dwarf Sagittaria, broadleaf, narrow leaf. Um, those Sagittaria plants would work great. Um, some I should say though that if you don't buy the plants from me, if you buy them from somewhere else, just remember that most of the plants sold on the internet are immersed grown, meaning they're grown above the water. And Sagittaria does kind of have similar to Cryptocoryone. Sagittaria kind of does have a harder time transitioning to a submerged state. It does tend to melt a lot before it finally grows underwater. So, my Sagittaria is all grown submerged, so it doesn't really have the risk of melting once you put it in your tank. But I just wanted to warn you in case you buy from somebody else that, the Sagittaria has a tendency to melt because most of the Sagittaria sold online is immersed grow, unless, they've been in somebody's aquarium or pond like mine for a long time and propagated and grown underwater. So. I bought some wisteria at PetSmart and it died 2 weeks later. Well, let me just tell you, PetSmart and Petco, they're tr- they're trying to do a great thing with the Planet Tank hobby. I think they still sell plants. They sell mostly tissue culture plants. But to be honest, some stores still sell plants in a tank. Like submerged plants. From nurseries and stuff, and they do not take care of their plants. We're talking about a place where, they're a big store, first of all. They really don't have the time to maintain plants like they should to begin with. Uh, to me, a store like that shouldn't be selling plants, period, but they do anyways because they want to make money. But we're talking about a place that's, run by kids, run by teenagers. You'll get lucky if you go to a pet store or a PetSmart or Petco and somebody there is, you know, 40 years old and super knowledgeable in the hobby. That's very rare though. So we're talking about a place that's run by teenagers that absolutely know nothing about growing plants. And when PetSmart and Petco get plants, because I can say this because I've seen it. I've been to PetSmart and Petco sometimes when they're actually restocking their plants. I mean, all I've seen them do is put the plants in and leave them, and that's it. And I mean, I'll come back 2 weeks later, and most of the plants will be brown, black, yellow. Leaves will be falling off. The tank. Most of the tanks I've seen at PetSmart, the Planet Tank tanks, don't really look that well maintained either. So Sometimes I would see a lot of dead leaves and stuff collecting at the bottom of the tanks, which, of course, that's a lot of extra nutrients growing, promoting algae growth. So the plants are covered in algae, and they're still selling them. I mean, it's it's really hilarious. I mean, coming from me, going to one of those stores and seeing that, and here I am. I'm highly experienced with plants. I know a whole bunch of stuff about plants. I've been growing aquatic plants since I was a kid. Seeing that is just like, oh my God, like how could they do that? It's pretty bad that they still sell them. So, um, it's no surprise that the plant she bought from PetSmart died. I probably could have told you that. So, um, because Petco, PetSmarts are holding tanks not for propagating or growing. Absolutely right. But you know what? It does. My system is the same thing. My pond is a holding pond. It's I really don't propagate and grow most of the plants that I sell because they sell so quickly. So I'm in the same boat, but you see my plants and you see the plants at Petco. I mean, there's a big difference, right? These are extremely healthy. Those are not healthy at all. So what does that tell you? I mean, there are things that can be done to keep plants healthy while they're being held in a holding system. But since, like I said, PetSmart and Petco, these stores are run by children and highly inexperienced people. Um, I don't know why PetSmart hires these people to begin with, but most of the plants just are not healthy, and they still sell them. They're covered in algae, and for God's sakes, God. Um, I guess I can say I'm a little passionate about that, about PetSmart and Petco and how they're so irresponsible with their plants. Because before I even got into this business, before I started all this, I I applied at like 10, 15 different PetSmart Petco locations, for a job. In particular, I applied, for their fish section, their aquarium section and stuff. Nobody ever called me back. Nobody ever gave me an interview. I put down all my experience and stuff, and it's funny because like I would go to these stores because these are the stores I would rely on to, support my hobby. Um, and I would see new people there, first of all, new employees, and they're teenagers. They're like teeny bopper kids. And I'm like, why would they hire somebody that clearly knows nothing about what they're doing when they could have hired me? I mean, I put all my skills down. They could have hired me instead and had somebody there knowledgeable and could give people the right information and take care of the aquatic things there properly. I mean, it blows my mind. It really does. So it really does blow my mind, unfortunately. In the live show, this is boring. Momar Niang says, well, if it's boring, you can leave. Bye. Have fun. No one's forcing you to watch. No one has a chain around your neck forcing you to stare at your computer screen and watch my show. You can definitely leave. And I think I'd actually appreciate it if you left because I don't like negativity. So, do you plan on selling more plants in the near future like fish? No, not going to sell fish. I tried selling fish, I tried selling shrimp, didn't sell anything at all, you know. Um, those things are in particular hard to sell as well because, um, hold on, sorry, check my phone. Those things are in particular hard to sell because, first of all, shipping is so expensive for fish. Most people don't want to pay that. Um, and not to mention to sell fish, to hold them, you need a big operation. You need, tanks, different tanks, um, so many different tanks if you want to have a good selection of fish. You really can't mix a bunch of fish in a pond, for example, because when you're trying to find them to package them for shipping, it'll be a nightmare. Um, so, yeah, fish, shrimp, definitely not going to sell that again. Um, just because it's not profitable. I mean, the customer base for that is very low. Most people just buy fish from local stores because it's much easier. Most people don't want to spend, geez, I think like FedEx and UPS overnight shipping is like, geez, 50, 60, $70 sometimes. I mean, nobody's going to want to spend that money for shipping. And on top of that, especially if they're buying expensive fish, spend all that money for the fish. It's too much. Um, so, no, not going to sell fish. It's not profitable. I'm strictly going to stick with the plants, and I think you also asked if I'll be selling more plants, and absolutely. Um, you know, in this industry, there are always new plants being hybridized, so there's always new stuff to sell. So whenever I get the chance, if I catch something, from one of my wholesalers, distributors, whatever, that's a new plant, I'll definitely try it out and put it on the website. So I'm always open to that. I think we actually just added Startogen Repens to the website. We sold all those out in the first day, though. It was the first time we ever offered that plan on the website, and I think I put it up at like 9 o'clock in the morning, and it was gone by 10:30. So, um, we did have a new plant, but it's not available anymore. So I'm trying to grow more of that and propagate that. We also started selling Rotala indica as well. That's a really awesome plant. That we have a lot of because that's a really fast growing plant. So that's easy for us to propagate here. All right, so let's get into another question. Okay, real question. Okay, it's a real question. Let's do this. I'm going abroad for 6 weeks and I have a 25-liter tank. Can the person that is taking care of my tank do one water change at the third week mark? It's a planted tank and has two harlequins. So you're going away for 6 weeks and you want them to do one water change. Yeah, I mean, it's one water change in, okay, wait. One water change in 3 weeks though. Okay, well, 3 weeks is a little, that's probably why you're asking this question, right? Because you're wondering if 3 weeks is too long to, wait for a water change. Um, 3 weeks is a long time to not do a water change. I would say to be on the safe side, have your friend change your water in your tank after the 2 week mark, and then repeat that because you said you're going to be gone for 6 weeks, so repeat that 3 times. Um, because 3 weeks is a pretty long time. A lot of stuff can accumulate, grow, and become a nuisance. Just like algae. So, and your water parameters will really start to deteriorate after 3 weeks. It's really, I mean, unless your tank is heavily planted, there's so many plants. I mean, you could let it go longer without a water change because I'm sure you already know plants act as a natural filter for aquariums. So if you have a super heavily planted tank, you can go months without a water change. But if it's minimal, like you just have a carpet of some plant or maybe a few stem plants or whatever, you'd kind of want to treat it as a normal fish tank and do a water change every 2 weeks. So it just depends, it really just depends. How can I add new filter media to an aquarium that doesn't have any bacteria growing in the media? So you don't have beneficial bacteria growing on the media. So I assume you already have media in your filter? How can I add new filter media to an aquarium that doesn't have any bacteria growing? Um, okay, well, if you already have media in your filter, there's already bacteria on the media. I mean, I know you can't see it, but trust me, it's there. I mean, there's not going to be like little green critters crawling around on it. The microbacteria, the beneficial bacteria that grows on um, the biological media, you really can't see it. Um, but if you're going to add new media and take that stuff out, you run the risk of your tank recycling because you're taking out all that good beneficial bacteria. So I would suggest, leaving your filter like it is. I know, you can't see the bacteria, but trust me, it's there. You can add more media if you want. You don't have to remove the ones that you have now, but if you have space, you can add more media, and that'll give more surface area for beneficial bacteria to grow. But you definitely don't want to remove it if it's been in your filter for a while, because that means it's established and there's a lot of good growth of bacteria on there. So you want to leave that alone. Um, can you tell me some plants that grow really fast without CO2 for a discus tank? Without CO2 that grows fast. Well, Hygrophila wisteria grows like a weed. That would be one plant. We have tons of that available on the website, jacobsaquarium.com. Moss plants grow great. They grow fast as well. Those would grow, I think, okay in a discus tank. Discus typically don't mess with plants that much. They don't, really peck at plants or anything. So I think you should be okay. Um, and there's one carpeting plant. What was that carpeting plant that grew great? Um, I think microsword is one plant that you can try that's somewhat fast growing without CO2. It's just really hard to say because, I mean, it's hard to say because some plants, they 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 do just grow so much better with CO2. And I really haven't grown most of my plants without it, so I can't really say for sure. But as far as I know, the Hygrophila wisteria, microsword, um, you can try some Sagittarius species. They are somewhat fast growers. Um, Starter repens would be another good one that grows fast. I'm pretty sure. So you can try those. But like I said, I'm not entirely sure because I really don't grow my plants without CO2. Kyle Manner says hi. Hi Kyle, how are you? Thanks for joining the chat room and watching the show. I want to do CO2 in my 30-gallon, but the people at the fish store told me it would lower the pH too much. What do you think I should do? Oh my goodness. Well, I don't know who you spoke to at the fish store that told you that CO2 would lower your pH too much. Um, but somebody's backing out. Um, to be honest, I don't measure any of my water parameters. I don't test my water at all. I don't measure my CO2 that much. Um, I dose a lot of CO2 given that my pond is pretty big, and I don't have any water quality issues. My pH is not extremely low because if it was, plants would be melting and dying and all that stuff. Um, I don't know who told you that, but I don't think that that's necessarily true. I don't know why anybody would be against adding CO2 to a planet tank, first of all, in the first place. CO2 is what plants naturally consume in the wild to begin with. So when you add CO2 to a planet tank, it's like giving plants that natural thing that they would have if they were grown in the wild, which makes them grow so much better. Um, so I'm not sure why they told you that. That's incredibly wrong, though. Um, I don't think it will lower your pH too much. If you want, test your pH once you add CO2. If you have problems related to pH, if your pH is too low, but I doubt that'll happen, you can buy some additives, liquid additives that raise your pH. There's one that it's simply called pH Up. I think drfostersandsmiths.com sells that. PetSolutions.com sells that. Those websites sell that stuff. It's called pH Up. They also have one that's called pH Down, so you can raise or lower your pH. Uh, there's other natural things that you can do to raise your pH, like you can add baking soda or bicarbonate soda, whatever they call that. Uh, a lot of people do that to discus, or no, sorry, to cichlid tanks to raise the pH, because cichlids like rather not so high pH, but somewhat high. Um, so I mean, if you do have pH problems, you can definitely raise it. That's not an issue. But like I said, I doubt that'll happen. So Bricks 360, hey man, what's up? Hey Bricks 360, thanks for joining the chat. Appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Two questions. What is one good use for extra duckweed besides throwing it away? And would it be possible to build a filter with just bamboo and pothos and gravel? Oh, like the houseplant pothos? Um, a good extra use for duckweed. Well, I've never grown duckweed because it's like a really nuisance plant for me. I mean, that would cover the entire top of the pond and shade all the plants and kill all the plants. Um, what I would say is if you have goldfish or if you have koi, you can throw it in a pond and those fish will devour that plant. They'll eat it like it's a salad. So you can try feeding it to fish if you have a koi pond or goldfish. Other than that, I'm not entirely sure what you can do with extra duckweed. Um, just throw it away, or you can mix it with dirt and make compost out of it, I guess. Um, but yeah, I'm not entirely sure. And then you want to build a filter with bamboo and pothos. You can do that too. That's fine. Um, as I just mentioned, actually, I said plants act as a natural filter. That'll definitely be the case in a filter like that. The thing is you need a light source to grow the plants in the filter, and the filter has to be exposed, which I'm not sure if it would create too much water movement. See, the thing is with the Planet Tank, you don't want a lot of water movement because that'll lower your CO2 levels, which could, which could prevent or should stunt some of your plants from growing, or kill them entirely. So you don't want too much water movement. And in a filter like that, I could see that being a problem because, it's an open filtration system. A lot of water is moving around through all the plants. So I'm not sure if that'll be the best thing for a planted tank. But I mean, by all means, try it. See what happens. So, when am I getting Tropica plants? To be honest, I can't tell you. I wish I could, but I'm under confidentiality, so I can't say. Apologize. Baking soda in the water. Is it safe to uh, put up pH up? Yeah, you can put bicarbonate of soda in water. That's not going to affect anything. That'll just raise your pH. Like I said, don't put too much, obviously, because you don't want to get crazy. You can go to like a 8.7 pH level. um, you just monitor your pH with a test kit, and then see where it's at. So, when are you getting Jungle Val? I will be getting Jungle Val on Monday. I'm getting a large shipment of plants on Monday. Because as you can see, the pond is a little empty. We sold a lot of plants over the weekend. So I'll be getting a huge shipment of plants on Monday. So we'll most likely have all the plants that are out of stock on the website back in stock then. So. And thank you ahead of time if you do place an order. Thank you for being an awesome customer. So, when are you getting? Oh, I already, I already answered that. Floating plants make great compost. Yep, I agree. I just said that. What's my opinion about cheap regulators? Well, it's scary because if they're not made well, they can explode, or not explode, but the pressure of the CO2 gas will make them pop off. That's not too safe. And they don't last too long. So my recommendation is spend the extra money, buy a good regulator, like from Aquatech makes a good regulator. Buy one of those, and it'll last you a long time. I'm still using the same Aquatech CO2 regulator that I bought 5 years ago. And as I mentioned in my most recent video, all I had to do was just replace the solenoid once, and everything else was good to go. Um, so don't buy a cheap regulator because it doesn't last. Jacob, do a collab with Lucky Bamboo Expert. Well, yeah, Lucky Bamboo Expert is my other YouTube channel. Um, that would actually be interesting. Interesting doing a video like that. Both channels, I guess. That would be cool. Do you know the ProDAC Magic Filter? If you don't, what external filter can you recommend for a Planet Tank 70 gallons? No, I don't know about that filter. Sorry about that. The best canister filter I can recommend now is the one that I'm currently using because it's the only canister filter that I've ever used, but I can say it works great. Haven't had any issues with it, and that would be the Hydor canister filter. Hydor Hydor canister filter. They make one that goes all the way up to, I think, 600. Like I have the model 450. I think they have a 600 model as well, and that's for rather large tanks. I think it has 6 media baskets, so you can fit a lot of stuff in there. Um, so that would be one canister filter to consider. But I've also heard that Eheim makes great canister filters. Um, oh, sorry, I got a sun blister on my lip. I got sunburn at the beach on vacation. My lips got sunburned too. um, yeah, Hydor makes a great canister filter. Eheim is another great company that makes great canister filters. Oh my God, is my lip bleeding? Ugh, my poor little lip. I should have put sunscreen on. So yeah, those filters would be great. You should try those. Um, oh God, that hurts. Ouch. Yeah, for those of you guys don't know, I recently was on vacation and was at the beach for like 3 days, and I don't think I was too good about the sunscreen, so I got a little sunburn. Is it safe to use aquaponics tubing over PVC? I, I don't know. I don't know what aquaponics tubing is. What is your opinion on the Wallstead method with planted tanks? You know, I really don't. I've never tried any of those other weird methods like the dry start method, wall start method, um, all those other things that I've seen on the internet. I pretty much just started Planet Tank like normal, and it works every time for me. Um, I think if you do things right, there's no reason to do any special, you know, method to start a Planet Tank. Uh, I think the worst one you could do is the dry start method because that's pretty much equivalent to growing plants immersed, which makes them harder to transition once you finally fill the tank with water and grow them submerged. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure if that's how the method works. The dry start method is, but I'm basing that on what the name makes it sound like, or um, I think that'd be the worst way to start a planted tank. Um, you know, just when you start a planted tank, start it with good substrate, fill it with substrate, dry, don't add water, and then put your substrate in there. Um, oh God, my lip. Don't start it with water. Just add your substrate dry. Um, Moisten your substrate with a spray bottle, whatever. Put your plants in there. Plant the plants in there. Fill the tank up slowly. Start a tank with CO2 if you can, nutrients, um, and I mean, just do it that way. I mean, I really don't know what to say. I mean, that's how I've done all my tanks, and I mean, I don't have problems, so I don't see why there's a reason to do any of those other methods. So, oh my goodness, my lip hurts. Ouchie. I need a band-aid. Yeah, I'll be fine. I heard something online yesterday about California might crack down on pet stores and wholesale stores if the drought gets worse. Well, they better not. They better not. I can tell you right now, F the California government because they've had 40 freaking years to take care of the drought problem. They knew the drought was coming. They knew that was going to happen eventually. Instead, they put money in the wrong places in California. The government put money into their own pockets, in other words, instead of building aqueducts, reservoirs, desalination plants. There were so many things they could do to, combat the drought that they knew was coming. Everybody warned them of it. Like I said, they didn't do anything, so they're not going to punish us because California is low on water. Fucking, I'm sorry for my language, but pump it in from freaking Oregon, Washington, where there's tons of water. I mean, the citizens of California should not, or residents, whatever, should not suffer because the government did not do their job when it came to, combating the drought that they knew was coming. They were warned of it, years ago, 40 years ago, you know. Um, that's nothing should be done to us. I mean, I know aquarium stores, pet stores, whatever, they use a lot of water, but it's not their fault. It's not their fault that there is a drought. It is the government's fault. So they've had plenty of time to do stuff. And our hobby shouldn't suffer because of that. Because if they do start cracking down on pet stores, what's going to happen for the customer? Obviously, these pet stores aren't going to be able to keep most of their tanks full with water. They're going to have to cut back, which means they'll probably be able to or have to offer less a smaller selection of fish. So that's going to make a lot of people suffer. I think if that ever does happen, I'll be the first to, protest, to start a protest and picket our government because our California government, because there is no reason why, the residents, pet stores, whatever should suffer because our government did not take action and do something about the drought that they knew was coming. It should not be our fault. So. What about the reservoirs that were destroyed for environmental reasons? I don't know about that. I really can't say. I never heard about that. I didn't even know. I do know that there is tons of rain, water, tons of water in Oregon and Washington that they could pump down to California. It'd be a rather expensive thing to build, but if they would have done that in increments, 40 years ago, build one section every 10 years, for example, a pipeline that is from Oregon and Washington to California, slowly, building it so that the cost wasn't that expensive, we wouldn't have a problem. And another thing too is that, I recently heard a story about this guy that lived in Washington. He had this huge property and he had this huge pond, like 5,000 gallon pond, obviously man-made. He built it, he dug the hole that he eventually just let collect rainwater. The local government forced him to drain the pond and get rid of all that rainwater because they said that he didn't have a permit for that. See, it's things like that that don't make sense. When there are states nearby that need water, and yet the things people do to conserve water, this guy didn't have to do that. He didn't have to let his pond collect rainwater because, you know, they don't have a water issue there. Washington's not going through a drought, but even so, people that try to conserve water, the government ends up striking them down. So it's just there's a lot of stupid, petty things to overcome, you know, stupid petty laws, I guess you could say. Um, but yeah, there's no way. I'm not cutting back on water. I'll still use our water from my system, which to make our water, it uses a lot of water, creates more wastewater than it does our water. And I expect all the pet stores to do the same. There's no reason why we should have to suffer because of that. So, um, leave Canada out of this. I never mentioned Canada. I don't know why you're talking about Canada. Or use the salt water and turn it into fresh water like they do in the Middle East. Exactly. Exactly. As I just said, our government has had plenty of time to build desalination plants. I mean, in California, we're all coastal. I mean, our whole state is coastal. Pretty much our whole state. We have plenty of places to build desalination plants. And like I said, the government's had plenty of time to do that, but they didn't. And I don't know why. They've been putting money into the wrong places, into their pocket instead. Um, it's just they didn't care. But see, they they disregarded the ever, you know, coming drought 40 years ago. But see, now that it's here, now they want to start doing something about it. Now they want to start taxing people and forcing people to shut off their water or change the landscape of their home because their grass requires too much water to keep healthy. I mean, now they expect everybody else to suffer when, you know, it's their fault. It's stupid. Stupid. Another guy mentioned Canada. Oh, okay. Well, I guess that other guy then. Am I ready to have my taxes increased to build these plants? No, my taxes aren't increasing. I already pay enough tax to begin with. I mean, I didn't even make a lot last year from this business, and I'm paying $3,000 back to the government. Um, so I already pay a lot of taxes. If they want to take more taxes from me to use water, that ain't gonna happen. I won't pay it, and I don't think anybody else will. So if they're gonna get people in trouble for not paying this new water tax, uh, they're gonna have to arrest millions of people in California because I don't think that'll ever happen. So, Canada has gone too far this time. What are you talking about? Turning salt water into fresh water is expensive. The government's had 40 years to do that, to build desalination plants. Imagine how much money our California government probably used in 40 years on other things that we didn't need. Millions and millions of dollars. Probably enough to build 20 desalination plants. It's hilarious, guys. It really is, you know. It's so funny how, you know, when our government doesn't do their job and, you know, once again, excuse my language, but shit starts to hit the fan, how they want everybody else to suffer, you know, when it's their job to fix things like this. I mean, it's not right. So, bottled water will go up first, probably. Probably. Yeah. Bottled water, gallons of water, who knows, you know? We'll probably just have to end up collecting rainwater if we do get some rain. um, However, you know, like I said, the government's for some reason particular about that, and you need some special permit to collect water, so probably won't be able to do that either. Um, Hi, can you please suggest some plants, good plants for a sand bed with low light and low maintenance? Yeah, Amazon Swords, Jungle Val, Laguidia, those are good plants for that. Oh my gosh, it's 108. We've been live for an hour. All right, guys. Well, it is time for the end of the show. Um, Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. It's been a great show. A lot of interesting conversations. My lip hurts. um, and I really appreciate you guys watching this live stream. It's been actually pretty cool doing the show out here um, on my balcony outside for a change instead of being inside, you know, in my cave with my studio lights in my face. It's actually been a lot nicer to be outside. So I'll probably do this again. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching the live show. I really appreciate it, and hope you guys will come back next Saturday at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, same place, right here on my YouTube channel. So thanks again, everybody, for watching. Really appreciate it. I love you guys. Have fun with your tanks, and I'll see you next time.